Hey guys, welcome back to another weekly freight market update. Well, it's March 6th right now, and it's definitely not a case of new month, new chapter. So, as always, let's go ahead and take a peek at capacity in the industry, the volumes and rejections in the general market, diesel prices, and then we will dive into the specifics on the spot market for dry vans, reefers, and flatbeds. And as always, at the end of this video, we're going to compare data versus experience. Ready? Let's go! All right, as always, we are going to start with the capacity in the market. Charts are going to be here, and we're looking at the net change in the number of MCs in the industry. Week over week, we saw that the net change is actually an increase of 108 carriers. Now, in terms of the spot versus contract market, how much more do those contract carriers get paid than those spot carriers? As I always say, the higher that line to the top, the smaller the margin. Well, it went down, so the margin grew, and now contract carriers are getting paid around 56 cents per mile more than those spot carriers. All right, let's take a look at volumes. Volumes, unfortunately, are still below 2024 levels, which is the green line, and yeah, they're not really going up. They're kind of bouncing at the same level. But the question is, are rejections going up, kind of offsetting this drop in volume? Well, yes, they are. You can see that rejections are higher than 2024 levels, and they are climbing up. And currently, rejections are on average at 5.83%. Finally, last but not least, we have to talk about those diesel prices. And diesel prices, you can see, are below 2024 levels during this time last year. But yes, they went down, but they're ticking up a little bit. Now, this is according to actual truck stops. Currently, diesel prices are at $3.69 per gallon on average. All right, now let's move on to the spot market, and we are going to start with our favorite dry vans. This is data by FTR Intel that I put into this easy to read table. So week over week, sadly, dry vans saw a decrease of 1 cent per mile on the spot market, and the average now is $1.89 per mile. This includes all short hauls, this includes long hauls, and this is only based on loaded miles. Now, year over year, rates are actually 1.5% higher. In terms of volumes went up by 2.7% week over week on the spot market for dry vans, and year over year, volumes are 7% higher. So in terms of the market movers, where are more loads going from the general market to the spot market, and what do those areas look like for dry vans? Well, the top 5 areas where more loads end up on the spot market from the general market for dry vans are Green Bay, Wisconsin, Dallas, Texas, Columbus, Ohio, Atlanta, Georgia, and Savannah, Georgia. But if we take a look to the right, we see the outbound spot rates. Are they increasing or decreasing? Dallas and Savannah, Georgia have increasing outbound spot rates. However, everything else is seeing decreases. On top of that, we can see truck availability here. So Green Bay, Wisconsin and Savannah, Georgia actually have limited truck availability, whereas Dallas and Atlanta, Georgia have excess truck availability. Columbus, Ohio has a moderate amount of trucks. Now, something new that I decided to add is the top 5 markets where spot rates are increasing, outbound spot rates, and the percentage by which they increased week over week. For vans, these areas are Raleigh, North Carolina, McAllen, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Buffalo, New York, and Greensboro, North Carolina. And you can see on the right side by how much those outbound spot rates increased week over week. All right, next let's talk about reefers on the spot market, which unfortunately saw a 6-cent drop per mile. Currently, reefers are seeing around, on average, $2.13 per miles on the load boards, again, including short hauls, long hauls, and only for loaded miles. Year over year, reefers saw a 3% decrease in rates. Volumes week over week went down by 8.1%. However, year over year, volumes are 4% higher. Now again, market movers for those reefers. The top five for more freight from the general market goes to the spot market are Chicago, Illinois, Joliet, Illinois, Fort Worth, Texas, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Little Rock, Arkansas. However, every single one of these markets is seeing decreasing spot rates, and every single one of these markets is seeing either moderate or excess truck availability. So the question is, which markets are seeing increasing spot rates? The top five for reefers are Laredo, Texas, Allentown, Pennsylvania, Alexandria, Virginia, Buffalo, New York, and Winchester, Virginia. And finally, we have our flatbeds on the spot market. So flatbeds actually saw a 3-cent per mile increase and are now averaging at $2.33. And again, I'm going to repeat this. This includes those short hauls that pay up to $5 per mile, right? This is only for loaded miles. Now, year over year, rates are sadly 2% lower. However, volumes increased by 9.6% week over week and are 32% higher than this time last year. Now, in terms of where to go for flatbeds, I use truck stop data and I make these maps. This one is the load map. The darker an area is, the more loads come out of that state. As you can see, the South is over 2,000 loads in those states, as well as Illinois. But in general, most of these loads are, like always, in the South, in the Midwest, and the East Coast. Now, in terms of capacity, you will see that, again, trucks follow where the loads are for the most part. Mississippi is an outlier. There are not a lot of trucks there, which is why the load to truck ratio there is insane, which we'll get into in just a moment. But yeah, for the most part, trucks go where the loads are. Now, in terms of the negotiating power, where are there more loads than there are trucks? Anything burgundy red like Kansas, this is severe overcapacity, less than half a load per truck. Red like Texas is still overcapacity, less than a load per truck. Orange like Illinois or the West Coast, this is equilibrium where there is around 1 to 1.5 loads per truck. Be careful because this could be skewed by the fact that a broker posts one load a ton of different times, or by the fact that a truck is not being posted on the load board. So these are questionable areas. Slight undercapacity is yellow where there are 1.5 to 2 loads per truck. Undercapacity exists in Maine, Maryland, and Louisiana, 2 to 3 loads per truck. Moderate undercapacity, 3 to 10 loads per truck, are in Arkansas and Alabama. And over 10 loads per truck is Mississippi. So now the data versus experience. This week, the experience was actually somewhat better than what the data showed, but there's a reason for that. This is because we as a flatbed carrier ran only in the Midwest, South, and East Coast this week. That being said, today is Thursday. Tomorrow, I'm going to be faced with a choice of where to book the next load to, which will take us over the weekend. Do I take a high gross to a dead area like the West Coast and then spend next week or half of next week trying to get out? Or do I sacrifice some of the gross income in order to book to a lively area and not have to worry about next week's loads? Now, in terms of diesel prices, definitely coinciding a little bit with the data in terms of the fact that they did go down slightly. We are finally seeing some areas that have less than $3 per gallon, more specifically around $2.97 to $2.99, but anything counts. What the data doesn't show is, of course, the human factor in this industry. And this human factor has been a thorn in our side this week, from brokers giving us the wrong address to getting to the receiver. Receiver says, yes, everything's great. We're going to unload you right now. And then proceeds to tell us that this is not our load. You actually have to go 40 miles away. Of course, all of this wastes a lot of time. But we also had a wonderful experience this week, and it has to do with the shippers in Pennsylvania. For those of you who are not very familiar, a lot of flatbed shippers in Pennsylvania are Amish. And these are the most kind, ready to help people out there. So it's always a pleasure to pick up a load at one of their locations. So a big shout out to those Amish shippers who have made our week a little bit brighter. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining and watching today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week and weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep learning. And I will see you in the Sunday's weekly trucking roundup. See you in the next video.